Welcome to another explainer right here on YouTube. You know, if you think human puberty is a confusing time, you should really try being a ribbon eel. Seriously, this incredible creature actually starts its life with absolutely no sex at all, later becomes male, and then eventually turns female. It's a wildly confusing biological journey. But today, we're going to focus on our own.
We are diving right into the ultimate origin story, human reproduction. We're going to go on a chronological journey, step by step, to understand exactly how human life is created. We'll track the whole thing, from the very first chemical signals to the incredible mechanics of birth. It is an absolutely fascinating process, so let's get started.
Phase 1. Getting the body ready.
First off, it's worth distinguishing the broad psychosocial era of adolescence from the strict biological mechanics of puberty. Adolescence is that general time period of growing up and becoming an adult. Puberty, on the other hand, initiates the very specific physical changes to the body that make reproduction mathematically and biologically possible. This whole process generally kicks off between ages 9 and 14.
Now, what's really interesting about all this is the actual trigger mechanism. It's all about hormones. These chemical messengers travel right through your bloodstream to initiate major physical updates in various target organs. It's like a system-wide software update. In females, for instance, the ovaries produce estrogen, which acts as the primary signal telling the body to develop adult secondary sex characteristics.
That brings us to Phase 2, the biological machinery.
The female and male reproductive systems have completely different architecture, but they are fundamentally designed to do the same thing: produce and transport specialized cells. In the female system, the ovaries store and release egg cells, while the oviduct acts as a highway to transport them. In the male system, the testes produce sperm cells, which are then transported up through the sperm duct. Like I said, completely different architecture, but the exact same goal.
Which leads perfectly into Phase 3, the meet cute, also known as fertilization. But before these cells actually meet up, we need to define what they are. They're called gametes. These specialized reproductive sex cells are the absolute fundamental ingredients required for sexual reproduction to work. You literally cannot have the story of human reproduction without these two specific players.
Let's look at the first player, the female gamete, or the egg cell. Fascinatingly, females are born with their entire lifetime supply of egg cells already waiting in the ovaries. It's amazing to think about. Each month, usually alternating sides, a single, matured egg is released into the oviduct, where these tiny hair-like structures called cilia gently waft it along, just waiting for fertilization.
Now, I want you to contrast that single once-a-month egg with this number, 1,500. This is a staggering biological fact. After puberty, the male body produces 1,500 sperm cells every single second. Not a month, not a day, every single second.
And because of that massive production rate, the introduction of the male gamete, the sperm cells, initiates a frantic race. In just a single milliliter of fluid, as many as 300 million sperm cells are navigating the female reproductive tract. They are all swimming desperately to be the one single cell that reaches and penetrates that waiting egg. When one finally does, fertilization is successful, and a brand new life begins to form.
All right, Phase 4, poppy seed to pumpkin.
To survive this intense 9-month period of gestation, the developing fetus relies on a highly advanced life support system. It's made up of 3 critical pieces. First up is the placenta. This is a temporary organ that acts as an exchange center, passing nutrients and oxygen from the mother to the fetus and clearing away waste. Second, you have the umbilical cord, which is the physical pipeline connecting the fetus to that placenta. And third, the amniotic sac and fluid. This acts as a literal shock absorber to protect the fetus from everyday bumps and movements.
With that life support system running smoothly, the growth is simply explosive. Starting at just 1 millimeter, literally the size of a tiny poppy seed, the heart is already beginning to beat. By 5.4 centimeters, which is about the size of a lemon, most of the complex organs are fully formed. Fast forward to 25.6 centimeters, roughly the size of a coconut, and the skin gets thicker, developing distinct layers. Finally, it reaches about 51.2 centimeters, roughly the size of a pumpkin, and is just about ready for birth.
Actually, right in the middle of that growth timeline, there's a milestone I absolutely love. When the fetus is about 30 centimeters long, which is roughly the size of a swede or a rutabaga, its nervous system is developed enough that it can actually tell if it is upside down. The spatial awareness is already booting up inside the womb. Isn't human biology just amazing?
And finally, Phase 5, the big exit.
So the crucial point here is that birth is a highly mechanical, sequential process. First, the incredibly strong muscles of the uterus start to contract. These contractions actively push the baby downwards. Second, this pressure causes the cervix to dilate, eventually opening to a full 10 centimeters. Third is the pushing stage, where the mother gets an uncontrollable urge to push, driving the baby through the cervix and out the birth canal. And step 4, which honestly gets forgotten a lot, is the afterbirth. About 5 to 15 minutes after the baby's actually born, the uterus contracts again to push the placenta out, completely finishing the whole process.
Which leaves us here, at the end of an absolutely incredible biological transformation. Just think about the sheer engineering required for all those delicate stages to work perfectly together. So I'll leave you with this question. From a 1 millimeter poppy seed to a complex human being, what new discoveries will this ultimate origin story lead you to next? If you enjoyed this journey, keep exploring biology, keep asking questions, and definitely stick around for our next explainer right here on YouTube. Thanks so much for learning with me today.